Hello my friend, and welcome back to the picnic table. Today's video is going to be a pretty quick overview about how I expose classic chrome. I won't necessarily be going over camera tools. I have done that in the past about how I set up my Fujifilm cameras. There are multiple videos in the backlog of my channel about how I do that. So setting up the camera won't be the feature of today, but I'm going to be diving into color grading some of my footage because essentially I underexpose by at least a third of a stop, if not sometimes a full stop when recording in my classic chrome profile. And that is really important because that is one of the ways that I get the best maximal results out of classic chrome and why I still love using it even when compared to F-Log and F-Log 2. I'm not going to say that the dynamic range ends up nearly the same because I do know just objectively that the dynamic range of F-Log and F-Log 2 are technically better than using classic chrome or any film simulation. But I have gotten great results using this. I've gotten very meaningful dynamic range out of the camera. If not technically perfect, it still means something because my image ends up better when I expose this way, and it ends up very usable in 99% of situations, which is why I still really haven't abandoned using my classic chrome profile. So I'm gonna try to keep this pretty quick. Let's go ahead and just dive in to color grading a little bit of this footage. Really, we're just going to be looking at one, maybe two clips and showing you how it looks like I am too underexposed possibly, and why that is the best way that I have found personally to be exposing, especially for classic chrome, but this might apply to Eterna or any of the Provia or the standard film simulations on the Fujifilm cameras, especially from the X-T3 line up to the X-H2S, which I'm now using. So here we are inside of DaVinci Resolve. We are just going to start with this image by looking at the data on the waveform. So as you can tell, this is a very heavy image in the bottom of the waveform. Most of the image looks like it's living here. Then we do have some of our peaks coming up close to overexposure, but never actually reaching it. And I'll go ahead and turn on the extents for you so you can tell that they are almost touching it, but never quite getting there. So everything that's at the top of the waveform here is saved. And this is because I am using my zebras, I am using my EV on the side, I am using all of the exposure tools in tandem. I've talked about that in other videos, but if you think I should make a dedicated video, please leave me a comment down below. Anyway, the most of this image is weighted on the bottom. So why do I expose the footage this way? Well, simply when I go and I grab my gamma and I start pulling it upward, you'll see this image is coming all the way back. There is no loss here when you're looking at the bottom. And if I zoom in and if we move over to the shadows in this image, right here, of course, is the deepest shadow in the whole image. And if I keep pulling up on that gamma, you'll notice all of that shadow is still recorded. There is very little, if any, blocking, artifacting that's happening right here. Possibly you could call that blocking and artifacting, but there's no world where I'm going to be exporting an image that looks like this anyway. So I'm really not concerned if that's the amount of blocking that we are beginning to nitpick. So this very simply is why I don't overexpose in any way when I'm using classic chrome, and why I way underexpose. And I know that this video maybe seems hyper simplistic, but a lot of people I think have never seen it this clearly before, where the image has all of that room left at the bottom. But if you overexpose and blow out the top, and I know that this is common knowledge when it comes to digital image sensors comparative to especially film, but it's true, and you see it here, that you are going to absolutely maximize the dynamic range that you are getting out of your Fujifilm camera, especially when recording in a film simulation, if you record way underexposed. And the reason that I'm making this video is because, yes, maybe a lot of people already know this, but maybe a lot of people don't, and maybe they have not seen it quite like this before, where all of that data is still retained in the shadows here. If we pull that up, it's all still there. And I'm gonna show you one more trick, and this is maybe a little bit in depth, and I might be breaking some color grading rules here, but just for the sake of showing you how I might go about editing an image like this, color grading it, is I can do this little small thing here if I need to keep the black point true in the image, but I want to improve the amount of gradation that's happening in those darker parts of the image. So I'll probably lift my gamma just a bit, and I'll start to get a little bit of separation happening in the image here. So you can see these darkest parts of the image have been brought up, but maybe you want just a little bit more detail happening there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my midtone, but you'll notice that when I lift my midtone, it's not affecting these parts of the image down here. If you want that to happen, if that is a desirable result for you for any reason, go change your low range of that midtone point. You know, essentially you're adjusting where these are pulling, and go change it to about 185. And when you do this, you will see that you are able to provide some separation in those low points of the image. Right around here, you're able to pull some of that up while leaving some of it closer to a true black. So that right there is a little bit of a tip. You can finesse this and play around until your heart is content. That is all I have for this video. This is why I underexpose classic chrome. Again, most of this might end up being common knowledge for many of you. Digital sensors much prefer to be underexposed when recording in Rec. 709 comparative to log. And so when you're using the Fujifilm film simulations, you should be underexposing your footage. How you do that with your various exposure tools is a separate video altogether, but using your zebras, using your EV exposure meter, using all of those tools, you should end up with a result that when you're looking at the back of the camera might be on the edge of making you uncomfortable, because when you're looking at it on the screen and it just feels way too dark, then you're probably close to maximizing the dynamic range that you are going to get from the camera in those profiles. That's it for this video. I'm trying to keep it as quick as I can. I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed.